All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting episode of D&D Did a Deep Dive, the show where we dive deep into classes, subclasses, and other features of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons to help you get the most out of your choices. So, today, I'm going to do something a little bit different. In Tasha's Culture of Everything, I've already talked about just every single subclass that is in there. We've talked about the feats, but one of the most interesting, and I think actually one of the most useful things in there is this new thing called sidekicks. Sidekicks are effectively a way to create NPCs that can join the party as maybe an ally or a pet or quite a few other things like that. Just as a way for for those parties where they become kind of attached to an NPC that you've created, and the narrative just kind of keeps going, and they kind of go, well, we want them to come with us. And normally you would if you wanted to go that route, it would kind of involve you building a character, like a full character for the NPC, and then you have to run into issues like I'm not a fan of what's called the DM PC, which is basically where the DM plays a character. I don't think that's very fun, because the DM has so much information that the players don't, and being able to cut off your character's knowledge from your knowledge as the GM is just not something that's easy to do, even for veteran DMs like me, who also has training in being an actor, and part of acting is being able to react as someone who hasn't read the entire script and know what's going to happen. So even someone with training like me is going to have a hard time playing a character when you know everything. Not only do you know everything that's going on because you're running everything, but you also can see all the roles and everything, the thing that the players can't. So the issue with the DMPC is it's very easy for them to become more powerful than the players, and for the players to feel like they are side characters in someone else's story, which is not what D&D is supposed to be. It's supposed to be the player's story that is told by the GM, but it's the player's story. And that's what Sidekicks does so well. Is basically, so to let you kind of understand what it is, the Sidekicks rule basically is a way to take a monster stat block, and I'll talk about the specifics in a second, and change it into a character that can go and adventure with the party without the issues of building a full character and the problems that entail, like it becoming more, powerful, or again, a lot of times DMs are going to have a better understanding of the rules and everything than the players. So it may not even be that the character is more powerful than anyone else. It's just they know how to play the game better. From a mechanical standpoint, better is a bad word for D and D, but they just understand the mechanics better, and so they're better able to do what they want with the thing. Sidekicks specifically are, first of all, you get to start with a monster stat block. Basically, you pick a monster stat block that is challenge rating 1/2 or lower. Challenge ratings go 0, 1/8, 1/4, 1/2, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to, I think it gets to the upper mid 20s. There might be a 30 in there somewhere. Challenge rating in itself is just a number. There are challenge rating 1/2 monsters that are more powerful than challenge rating 2 monsters. And there are challenge rating 2 monsters that are about as useful as a challenge rating 4 monster. It all depends on how you build the in-kick counter. So don't worry too much about the challenge rating. A 1/8 monster is not going to make a worse sidekick than a 1/2 monster. It's just what flavor do you like and do you think will work for you. So what you do is you pick a monster stat block of 1/2 or lower. I actually did a full list. There's over 300. If you look at every single source of monsters in the game, that's Monster Manual, Volo's Guide to Monsters, and every adventure adds new monsters as well. In addition to a few of the source books actually adding some monsters as well. So. So there's over the 300, so there's plenty to pick from. And what you do is you pick one of these monsters and you give them a sidekick class. The way that works is there are 3 different sidekick class. There's the expert, the spellcaster, and the warrior. We're going to talk about the expert today. We will talk about the spellcaster and warrior in other videos. And then effectively what you do is you keep the base as a stat block, and then you will add things, and we'll talk about this as stuff in just a second here that you add. But they'll get extra hit points. They'll generally get a few skill proficiencies so that they can do non-combat things. Their proficiency bonus will start going up as well, just like a regular character. The big difference is all of these sidekick classes are designed to be exactly that. They're designed to be sidekicks. They're actually built, and their abilities are defined to be helpful to a party, not so much to be a hero in their own right. And I think that's what makes them just so interesting, and that's what can make them so much fun to add to your game. Now, the other the thing that they do mention for sidekicks is it doesn't actually have to be an NPC that becomes a sidekick. It may be that you have a newer player that doesn't want to deal with how complicated some of the classes can be. A sidekick is a much more simplified version of a normal character class. Now, this doesn't mean that they're useless or anything like that. They're just very much more simplified, and they're designed to do, basically 1 or 2 things. So if you do have a new player that's never played, is a little intimidated to have an entire character in front of them, especially if they're joining a campaign that's already started and maybe they're just not ready to play a level 6 character, well, giving them a level 6 sidekick might be an easier thing. The other thing they talk about in here is who is going to play this as a sidekick. The DM can play this as a sidekick. You can have one of the players play the sidekick. You can have multiple players play this as the same sidekick. You can have it rotate through. There's a lot of different ways to bring us as a sidekick in. And what I want this series to be is just kind of to explain how to get the most out of your sidekicks, whether you are a player that has decided to play a sidekick for whatever reason, whether it's because you're new or because maybe you can't commit to a full campaign, so you just want to be a side character in someone's campaign for a little bit, or you just want to try a very kind of supportive style role. There's a lot of different reasons to do it. Hopefully, this will give you some good ideas about how to go about that. So, let's go into it. We are going to start with the expert. Now, the three different flavors of sidekick, expert, spellcaster, warrior, are basically your kind of trinity, which eventually turns into a quadrilogy kind of thing that you will see in most RPGs. You have the fighter warrior style thing. They're the big strong guy that swings things. There's the dexterity, the agility based character, and then there's the magic based character, which in most RPGs can be split into the wizard style spellcaster, where they're dealing damage, and the cleric style or priest style spellcaster, where they're healing damage using magic. And that's what we have here. Again, they're designed to be really simple, really easy. So we're going to start with the expert, and guess what? The expert is the rogue kind of character. Now, just because they are kind of a little bit based around the rogue, you'll see a lot of rogue abilities showing up in here, does not mean you have to play them as a purely dex-based character, that they somehow have to be sneaky or anything. They specifically mention in here a couple, quite a few different archetypes that might be exemplified by an expert. They list scout, musician, librarian, clever street kid, a wily merchant, or a burglar. Some of those fit into the kind of rogue stereotypes. Some of them don't. So when you're thinking about the expert, the thing that you do want to focus on is actually one of they have defining attributes, just like any other class, and it's going to show up right at level 1. So let's go into what they learn at level 1. First things first, this is what you will see with all of these sidekicks, is bonus proficiencies. Basically, they'll get proficiency in one saving throw of your choice. For the expert, it's Dex, Intelligence, or Charisma. And that's, again, just to kind of make them a little bit more level with the other players, so that someone throws a fireball at the group, the expert's not going to go, okay, I did die instantly. In addition, they gain proficiency in 5 skills of your choice, which is actually a fair amount if you compare it to classes, where a lot of times you only get 3 or 4. But sidekicks don't have backgrounds. Again, this is a much more limited version of character creations, so they're basically boiling both the background and the class into one thing with this as a sidekick. So that's where they get the 5 skills. But because most backgrounds will give you an additional 2 proficiencies. So again, gets them on the same level. It doesn't give you a list of skills, so this is really where you can start having fun and creating an interesting, unique sidekick. And a lot of this may be based on the stat block that you choose. You're still going to have a stat block, and for low challenge rating monsters, a lot of times you're not going to see ability scores that are higher than a 12 or a 14. So compared to a regular character, where a lot of times you'll start with at least one score as a 15 or a 16, you're going to be a little bit lower, but you're also going to be spread out a little bit more. Again, depending on the stat block. Choosing the right stat block is kind of important. Once you choose that, pick your 5 skills, any 5 skills you want that just kind of fit the character. They also gain proficiency with light armor. And if it's a humanoid or has a simple or martial weapon in its stat block, it gains proficiency with all simple weapons and 2 tools of your choice. So this right away tells you that you don't actually need to choose a humanoid. And this can actually be a lot of fun. If you want to be a dancing sword expert that just follows the party around and helps out with the things, that could be a really fun, really basic, simple character. And for those players that do want to play just weird characters, like maybe they want to play a pixie or something like that, where you don't really have a pixie class, you have nothing that'll really to translate to it. Take a pixie as a stat block. They do have a version that is, I think, a 1/2 challenge rating, and give it a sidekick class and let them play that. Again, the interesting thing about this is not going to be how powerful or underpowered they are, but the fact that they're going to get to have a very unique, very different experience than a full character because of how the sidekicks are built. So that's the bonus proficiencies. The second thing they get at first level is the thing that's really going to define the expert. It is called helpful. The sidekick can take the help action as a bonus action. Now, the help action works into two ways. One way you can do the help action is anytime a character is making an ability check, you can decide to help them. That gives them advantage on the check. Now, most DMs will put some limitations in. Your 6 intelligence barbarian will probably not be able to help your wizard decipher an unknown language on a spell scroll. It does have to make sense that your character actually has something to add that will help with it. But a lot of situations are the things like, well, I'm going to break this door down. Okay, I want to help him. Okay, 2 people attacking the door are going to have an easier time, or 2 people lifting a rock are going to have an easier time than 1. You can roll with advantage. Things like that. So that's one thing, and that's how most people think of the help action. However, the other thing you can use the help action for is in combat. You can aid a friendly creature in attacking a creature within 5 feet of you. So if you are within 5 feet of a creature, you can use the help action to help someone else attack this creature. And they give some examples of the things you can do. You can feint, you can distract the target, or in some other way team up to make your allies' attack more effective. If your ally attacks the target before your next turn, the first attack roll is made with advantage. Now, the wording for the help action is a little bit unclear. My understanding is I've seen it played both ways. I've seen some people say, no, you have to declare which ally you are helping in order to get the advantage on the attack roll. I've seen other ones where it's like, okay, whatever the next attack roll against it is has advantage. Talk with your DM about it to figure out how you read it. I personally think from a logical perspective, it makes more sense to declare I'm going to help this person. And I think from a tactical perspective, it can be a lot more beneficial. Simply because you can ensure that the person that needs the advantage is going to get the advantage no matter where they fall in an initiative order. So anyway, the help action is normally an action. Being able to do it as a bonus action means your expert can do something, whether that's making an attack, interacting with an object, whatever they want to do is their action. And then they can also help the party. And this help action is incredibly useful. Giving allies advantage is always useful. If you have an ally that is a full rogue, giving them advantage means they get their sneak attack whether or not someone is there. Anyone that, like paladins and barbarians that get extra damage when they crit, things like that, that is always going to be useful. And it really kind of flavors this class in the idea that, their entire purpose is to help, is to be an aid to the party. And that's one of the reasons why he can be such an interesting character to play. So in combat, you're almost always going to be using your bonus action for something, and the help action is one of the more useful things you can do with it. What else can you do with your bonus action? Well, at second level, the expert gets Cunning Action, which is right out of the Rogue's playbook. It is a defining feature of the Rogue, so you can see why this is kind of flavored more towards Rogue. And that basically means you can take the dash, disengage, or hide action as a bonus action. You now have 4 things you can do with your bonus action. You have help, you have dash, which means you get to move your full speed as your bonus action, which means if you've already moved, you can basically move double your speed. Always nice. Disengage means you can move around and you won't provoke opportunity attacks, which is nice. And the hide action is exactly that. You can make a stealth check if you have something obscuring you, and hopefully be able to hide. A lot of rogues use the hide action a ton. I've seen a lot use disengage a fair amount, depending on how they play their rogue. This adds a lot of versatility to the expert. As we look at more things that the expert can do, we will find that the help action is still the most useful thing they can do, but we'll get to that in just a second. At level 3, they get expertise, which we've talked about before. You get to choose 2 of the Sidekicks' skill proficiencies, and their proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check that makes use of the chosen proficiencies. Now, this does specifically say skill proficiencies, whereas normal expertise, you can also give it to a tool proficiency, which is how rogues can get, upwards of, 30 thieves tools to checks to pick locks and things like that. So this does limit it a little bit, which again is how a sidekick should work. It shouldn't feel as powerful as the rogue or the bard, but this still gives your expert a way to help out the party in a pretty significant manner. You're going to have 2 things as an expert that you're really, really good at. And because you don't have limitations in the skills that you can choose, unlike classes where they give you a list of skills to choose, this really can be a thing that if you're going to be more the kind of optimization focused, literally just picking skills that no one else in the party has can be extremely useful. Or maybe you just pick a skill that the entire party just has a big hole in. Like maybe you just don't have any spellcasters in the party, or no intelligence-based characters in the party. It happens. I played an adventure like that, and we were in a dungeon that everything was done with investigation checks, which are all intelligence-based. None of us had a modifier high enough to make most of the checks, even with a nat 20. Because all of us had low intelligence scores. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways this can be used. Like I mentioned before in the feats video, this can also be a way to kind of play against a type, where again the expert is going to be a little bit more focused towards a dexterity-based character. But if you want your expert to be a grappler, because that's a very, very useful thing if you are trying to help your allies, then giving them expertise in athletics checks can be an easy way to do that, even if you don't have a massive strength score. So yeah, super cool there. 4th level, they get an ability score improvement. They get a lot of them. They get it at 4th, 8th, 10th, 12th, 16th, and then the 19th. Which is generally one more than most players will get. Now, one thing that they don't list in here, which I don't think they list in most classes, is whether you can take a feat or not. If you are using a sidekick to just be a just kind of regular helpful character, I think giving them feats will make them a lot more complicated than they need to be. Um, I think just sticking with ability score improvements can be a lot more beneficial. However, I don't see any rules specifically that state you can't give them feats. So again, if this is a player that wants to kind of test the waters of maybe trying a feat or something in addition to their, more streamlined character version, then this is a great way to introduce it. But because a lot of these stat blocks start off lower, you're going to need those additional ability score improvements to bring them up to equal with the other classes. So pick and choose how you want to play your expert or your sidekick in general. At 6th level, you get Coordinated Strike. And this is where things start getting really interesting and fun. When the sidekick uses its helpful feature to aid an ally in attacking a creature, the target can be up to 30 feet away from the sidekick. So this is a unique thing for the sidekick specifically. I'm not aware, at least off the top of my head, I cannot think of anything that allows you to use the help action from up to 30 feet away. So this is something that would be unique to this as a sidekick, and that's really useful. It means you can be a ranged expert instead of having to be within 5 feet and still get that really useful helpful action. In addition to that, it says the sidekick can deal an extra 2d6 damage to it the next time the sidekick hits it with an attack roll before the end of the current turn. The extra damage is the same type of damage dealt by the attack. So now, using the help action actually gives the sidekick bonus to the damage. So now, you are highly incentivized to use the help action because you're going to do more to the damage and you're going to help your party. And that's one of the things I think is so cool about the expert is the fact that they are heavily motivated to help the team as much as possible. They're not going to be the kind of character that is designed to kind of take the spotlight and, do all the cool stuff on their own. They're designed to set up the other characters to do something really cool. And that's one of the things that makes these sidekicks in general so interesting and such a cool thing to add to a campaign. So yeah, Coordinated Strike, super cool. And now that help action is even more helpful. 7th level, they get Evasion. This is another thing that is part of the Rogue Toolkit. It's also monks get it, though I think at a little higher level. Some of the Ranger subclasses get it, so this is not an exclusively Rogue thing, but it's seriously useful. Basically, whenever you're subjected to an effect that allows you to make a dex save to only take half damage, you instead take no damage if it succeeds and half damage if it fails. It's super useful. It basically means as long as you have a good dex score and you can make your saves, you become immune to dex-based saves. So things like Fireball, normally you would take half damage, which is still a lot. Now you can just dodge out of the way. It's the same thing with a lot of breath attacks. Like, it's super useful. It makes, it helps the expert to be able to wade into the middle of the danger to be that helpful character. At 11th level, you get Inspiring Help. When the sidekick takes the help action, the creature who receives the help also gains 1d6 bonus to the d20 roll. If that roll is an attack roll, the creature can forego adding the bonus to it, and then if the attack hits, the creature can add the bonus to the attack's damage roll against the target. And at 20th level, the bonus increases to 2d6. Okay, so now the help action's even better. Not only in combat, but out of combat too. Anything that the sidekick helps with now, they're going to get an extra d6 they can add to their d20 roll. So that's effectively a bardic inspiration your low level bardic inspiration is a d6. So now the expert can effectively give bardic inspiration without any limitations. There's no limit to how many times you can do this. In addition to that, when you are in combat, if the character you're helping needs the help because they're having a hard time hitting the target, they can use the d6 to add to their d20 to make sure they hit. However, if you're helping someone to help them do more damage, this can help their damage as well. Now, they do word it very specifically, where they call it a 1d6 bonus to the roll, which, because they're saying it's a 1d6 bonus and not roll an additional d6, the way I would rule it at my table means you don't get to double the d6 if you roll a crit. But even without that, it's extra damage. A d6 may not seem like a lot, but this is every single turn because they can do it with their bonus action. And at 20th level, you get 2d6. Like, this is something that's always useful. So yeah, it highly incentivizes that help action. Again, you have the rest of the cunning action things in your toolbox as an expert, where you can dash, disengage, or hide. But that help action is going to be the best thing you can do with your bonus action every turn. Now it gives you extra damage, which I forgot to mention this during the coordinated strike. It does say before the end of the current turn. So it is something that you use your bonus action first to help and then make your attack to get the extra 2d6 damage. But the extra 1d6 from inspiring help is just the person that you're helping gets extra stuff. So really, really cool, really interesting. And again, it really sets this character up to be the one that helps everyone else look good, which is exactly what a sidekick should do. 14th level, they get reliable talent, which is a rogue, and I think bards get a version of it as well. Whenever the sidekick makes an ability check that includes its whole proficiency bonus, it can treat a d20 roll of 9 or lower as a 10. Basically, anything that the sidekick is trained in, even a nat 1, counts as a 10. So they are just really, really reliable in what they can do. Which again, if those things that you chose as your proficiencies were things that the party desperately needed, now they're even better. Now this is specifically for ability checks, and something that a lot of people don't always remember. A nat 1 on an ability check does not mean an auto fail. That is only for attack rolls. You still add the modifier and see if it makes it, though. If you're rolling in a nat 1, most of the time you're going to fail just because it's, even with a really good score, you're going to have issues. With this, you're always adding a bare minimum of a 10 to anything that you're trained in. Really good, really useful. And again, can be very useful depending on what you're trained in. So, finally, at 18th level, you get Sharp Mind. The sidekick gains proficiency in one of the following saving throws of your choice: Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma. So, at first level, you get to choose Dexterity, Intelligence, or Charisma. At 18th level, you get to choose Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma. So, obviously, you can't have double proficiency in a saving throw. So, if you chose either Wisdom or Intelligence or Charisma the first time, you will choose one of the other ones. However, as we've seen with the Evasion, it's probably going to be in your best interest to choose Dexterity, just because it's really, really useful. And then at 18th level, you will get some sort of mental thing that will help with a lot of the kind of nasty spells that you get at higher levels, like mind control or stunning spells, paralysis spells, things like that. They all use intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. So, yeah. So that is the expert. Final thoughts. Like I said, I love the Sidekicks system. I think it is one of the more unique systems that they've added to 5th edition D&D, and I think it's really, really fun. And as we see with the expert, it does lend itself to a very different play style than playing a regular character. The expert is built to be a sidekick. The expert is built to help the party, not to be their own adventurer. And because of that, they can be a lot of fun to play. If you are someone that has played every single class and you've done, you've done theory crafting, you've done all these different things, try your hand at playing an expert. You're going to feel at first a little bit underpowered because you're used to being an adventurer, being the main character instead of a side character. But if you can understand the idea of playing a side character to someone else's story, which is a fun thing. I have played lead characters. I was an actor a very long time ago. I've played lead characters. I have played sidekick characters. Both of them are a ton of fun to play. They just take a very different approach to playing them. And that's what the sidekicks do. And the expert is is built so well to do that helpful sidekick character, specifically with their helpful ability that they get at level 1. You can just play this really fun, interesting, helpful character. So anyway, that is all for me today. As always, if you enjoyed this, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Lets me know that you all love me. In addition, hit the bell icon to turn on notifications, because every so often I publish things at weird times, or maybe you're away from the computer. You don't want to miss one of these videos. They're super awesome. In the comments down below, what kind of expert would you like to see in a campaign you're currently in, that you have played, that you watch? What kind of interesting expert? Feel free to open up your monster manual and look at, or go to D&D Beyond and sort monsters like I did by challenge rating, and look over some of the stat blocks and go, oh, that would be a really interesting sidekick character, wouldn't it? I think the most interesting ones are going to be the non-human ones, just because, again, wouldn't it be fun to play a dancing dagger? Like, wouldn't that be just awesome to do? Let me know what kind of interesting sidekick character you would like to see as an expert. Otherwise, again, that is all for me today, and I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye!